This week on the Reality Testing Podcast.
If you're going to be in a serious relationship and you're going to be on reality television, please share that with us.
She's another one of those trauma survivors with an alcoholic mom that I think just sometimes takes it one step too far and becomes a little bit hard to tolerate. But it all comes from this deep trauma narrative. So even if she's rubbing me the wrong way, I find myself trying to root for her.
That was just shocking for me to see this New Yorker who won't get on the subway.
Yes. I mean, I have ridden the subway more than she has, which is saying something considering I live in LA. Yeah. We are two shrinks obsessed with reality TV. We are breaking down our favorite reality shows, the characters, and what psychology has to say about human behavior when it's being filmed. Pull up a seat and let's get started. This has been a little brainchild of ours for a long time, basically, because that's all we text about.
They are us, but in Fendi.
And we're like, oh my gosh, but also that's me. Just a quick reminder here, we are psychologists talking about mental health themes, but we are not diagnosing anyone in these episodes. This show is for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered mental health advice. If you're experiencing a mental health crisis, please contact 988 if you're here in the US or seek local support wherever you are. You can access additional resources at realitytestingpod.com/resources. And before we start this week's episode, here are our progress notes on some of our favorite shows that we've watched this week. Okay, we have a lot to talk about.
Yes, we do.
In our progress note this week. Let's start with James Kennedy, because my God.
Can I start by telling you the story of the time I met him in the parking structure of our private practice?
You must, actually.
So this is back when we had our very first office in Santa Monica, that adorable part of town that was so walkable and lovely.
Yes.
And I'm in the parking lot after a long day of sessions. We go back to back to back when we do sessions.
Yes, we do.
And I had the amount of trauma I had heard in the previous 4 hours, I was spent. And I'm in the elevator just wanting to get in my car and drive home and veg out. And the elevator doors open. I hadn't quite got to my floor yet. And someone walks in and I look him in the eyes and it is James Kennedy. And I was like, my frontal lobes weren't working anymore. And all I could utter was, oh my God, you're James Kennedy. And he goes, yeah, he was so flattered that he got recognized in an elevator. And then I was like, oh, I wish I hadn't have said that out. I wish I had just made that as a mental note and been like, oh, it's James Kennedy. But I said it out loud. He loved that. And then
honestly, it makes for a better story.
I guess it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
He proceeded to get off at 3 different floors looking for his car and just was like, nope, not this floor, and back on the elevator. And it was the most chaotic whirlwind. I mean, I think this was back in his maybe cocaine days.
Yeah.
This was long before his sobriety narrative, or maybe 2018.
Yeah, we were in that office from 2018 to 2020.
Okay. So yeah, and it was early when we were in that office, so 2018-19. It was around there. He was a mess.
Yikes. Well, it turns out he's still a mess.
Still a mess. I was hoping he was there getting therapy, but there was a lot of other practitioners in that building.
Including lawyers.
Yeah, that's very true.
I remember walking down the hallway and being like, well, if I ever need legal help in this way, I'll know that I can just go and, knock on the door. I feel like attorneys are that thing that I am so now in the forensic work that I do, I'm like, I have some names I can call. But for the majority of my life, I did not come from a family that knew anyone that was in law or medicine. We are blue collar people through and through. So we don't know how to call a doctor because we are ashamed that we don't know what is going on. And we don't know how to call lawyers because we are also ashamed that we don't know the law, right?
Yes. Yeah, I have one friend who does, he's a lawyer and he does intellectual property law. And I remember for a couple years, he'd be like, hey, I got this legal question. Do you know blah, blah, blah? And he finally sat me down and was like, I do intellectual property. You are talking about criminal matters. Oh, I thought it was
stop asking me about criminal responsibility in GRI. I don't know. Now
I
we're
had
the
no idea.
experts in that.
Yes,
So.
we are. I love it. Yeah, so
Okay,
that's my
so
story of how I met James Kennedy. But this week he made news for none other than
domestic
domestic
violence.
violence. Oh,
Ugh.
gosh. Which has been alleged and rumored for many years. There was a
Has
lot.
it?
Yeah. Okay. So I follow this one account on Instagram who, God, what is her connection to James Kennedy? Or no, she has a connection to Kristen Doty.
I see.
And she said she had good word that James was abusive to Kristen back in the day, which when we see Kristen being crazy Kristen with James actually gives a lot of context to
Yeah,
some of
it
her
does.
behavior.
Yeah.
So I had always heard of the rumors that went way back to Kristen, that he was abusive there.
Wow.
Then there's Raquel, and remember when her nose was broken?
Yeah.
James accidentally
Ooh.
bumped my new nose job.
Oh my
Did he
God, I
bump
was
it?
not making these connections. You're right.
I might be like a Craig Conover conspiracy theorist over here, but I do think that there is some evidence that James Kennedy, I mean, he certainly has an alcohol and an anger
And
problem.
he certainly flies off the handle, and he certainly has thrown things in people's faces and stomped off and threatened people's lives. Like,
Yeah.
even if he's just mad, he has done those things.
Yep. Yeah. So, when I hear that, I'm horrified and I am not shocked. Innocent until proven guilty, but woof.
Well, and it's with his current girlfriend, Allie, and I really like her,
I do too.
but I think that there's a little bit of enabling that goes on in that relationship, which unfortunately oftentimes leads to these big blow up moments. Because if we talk about, I'm about to get psychological here. Everyone
it.
pull up your chair. If we talk about the violence cycle, there is a honeymoon period at the beginning of this like cycle. Everyone imagine a circle. And at the beginning of the honeymoon period, it's flowers and I love you and I've never had a love like this, and it's love bombing.
Yeah.
And then there's tension building. That's the next part of the cycle. And this is where suddenly things are getting like a little shorter with you, and you're like sitting in the car a little bit nervous, like, why are they so mad at me? It's usually a lot of unspoken things that are going on. And then there's explosion, right? That's the next part of the cycle. And in that, there's physical violence, there's emotional violence, there's all kinds of things that can happen in that space. And then almost immediately, they'll go back into the honeymoon, which means that they will make up for whatever they've done. They will go back to the sweet, flowery, I love you, I'll never do that again, that was a one-time thing, I was just high out of my mind, whatever, right? And it feels so good to the person that's receiving that, because finally I have back the person that I was originally dating, right?
Yeah.
And then here we go again. So it actually, when there's these stories, right, of this good behavior and this like sweet enabling that happens during these seasons, I'm usually a little bit concerned that they're in the honeymoon phase and we're about to move to the tension building phase.
Yeah. And then, to have comments made the next day of, oh, it's just a misunderstanding, and explaining it away. Oof, that also makes me think that there's a codependent dynamic going on.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Yuck. I mean, I think that she, I don't want to blame the victim, so I'll be careful here, but there is a little bit of like, listen, there's a pattern here, and there's a lot of, relationships that are sort of like laying on the side of the road that you're traveling down, right? To get to this like, man. So yuck. I hope it didn't get like so violent that it hurt her.
Gosh, I hope so too.
But, to be honest, domestic violence charges are actually pretty hard to get.
Yeah.
Because it's usually a he said, she said, she said, she said, whatever sort of circumstance. So because there's charges being filed, I'm nervous for her.
Yeah, me too. And, I think that, what was I going to say about that? Oh, domestic violence charges, are difficult to actually get ones that stick, and especially because that dynamic of we enter right back into the honeymoon phase of, I'm so sorry, let me make it up to you. Okay, I don't want to press charges anymore. So who knows what's actually going on? The only facts I've really heard is that him and Allie were at Kathy Hilton's Christmas party that night and came home. And that's when all of this ensued.
Wow.
And that he got arrested and taken to LA County Jail, inmate reception center right there on Boucher Street.
Which you and I have both worked, and it is the Wild West.
Woo! Yes, it is.
If anyone doesn't know, in LA County, the Inmate Reception Center, IRC is what we call it in the inner world, processes anywhere between 30 to 60,000 inmates a month. And of course, this is where they come into any LA County jail, and then they're sort of disseminated out to the different county facilities, but 20 to 60,000.
And it is the largest mental health facility in the world. Well, we go back and forth with the Cook County Jail in Chicago, but between the two of us, one of us is the largest mental health facility in the world. A jail. A county jail is the largest mental health facility. So that's why these two psychologists were working in jail.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Speaking of James Kennedy, let's talk about Kristen Doherty. She recently announced that she's pregnant, right?
Yes.
And I think she did a gender reveal.
Yeah, she's having a girl.
Yes, she's having a girl. And I think I misspoke when we talked about this before, that she was engaged, but now I think that's true.
Yes.
It is. Okay.
Yeah. I think they have put a ring on it, and babies come. Do we know when babies do?
No.
I don't know either.
No.
I think
Probably spring.
Yeah. There's always like a lack of dates, like specific dates when it comes to these weddings and babies, because, we just don't need to share that with the public, which is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy for her. I'm really
too.
happy for her. And I hope this relationship can go the distance, because that girl needs some stability.
I know. I want stability for her. There's so many parts of her that I really like. And then there are parts of her that are like very volatile. And that would be hard for me to tolerate as a friend.
Yeah. No, I agree. I fully agree.
Okay. Next up in our progress note is high body count hair.
That is like going to go down as one of the iconic lines in the Bravo universe. High body count hair. And like, did she just come up with that on the fly, or did she rehearse that at home? Well, she must have come up with it on the fly, because she didn't know what her hair looked like at the moment.
So to give the background, in Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, at Meredith's bat mitzvah, there's this big fight that happens between Brittany and Angie. So Angie, we know, owns 12 businesses in Salt Lake City, and most of them are salons, I believe. So this is her area of expertise, we could say. But this is like, Brittany said something earlier in the episode, and they flash back to it, and you see it. She says something to Bronwyn that like Angie looks like a slut because of the dress that she's wearing, right? So when they're all together, Bronwyn calls her out. She's like, I am so tired of being called out for things, and none of you bitches are. And so she calls her out. And in response to that, Angie says that Brittany has high body count hair. And to be frank, I believe she does.
It was bad.
I haven't seen teasing like that since 2011. Like,
it was, like I thought she was
that
trying
was
to go for a
millennial
Madonna
hair.
Yes, it was. And she knew she was going to be on TV, and they let her walk out like that. But you know what? It's first season housewife behavior, because she doesn't have a glam squad yet.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. So everyone is mad at Angie, and they think that she's flew off the handle, but she is not who started it. Brittany started it.
Correct. Because, Brittany was dating several men at once and got called out for doing 3 guys at a time. And then,
frankly, go on with your bad self.
Yes.
My problem is that you are dating one of them and that treats you like absolute garbage because his name is Osmond. And that's what we have a problem with.
And then you act like you're holier than thou and have all your religious friends over and go, how dare you bring me a bottle of wine while you're holding a glass of wine? It's just...
Yeah, miss me with that.
Yeah, I'm team Angie here.
Me too.
I mean, it wasn't kind, but Angie's right.
On that same episode, we also have to talk about Mary not being able to find the door. She walks around the entire building that is made of nothing but windows, as one does in Salt Lake City. You just make buildings out of windows because you want to be able to see the snow and you want to be able to see the beautiful mountains.
But you don't want to be outside.
But you don't want to be outside. And Mary walks around this entire glass building and looks in windows while this bat mitzvah is happening, and she cannot figure out where the door is. It is the most awkward thing that I have seen on Bravo in quite some time.
So awkward. I was laughing hysterically, and like those are the moments that you just can't write. Like you just can't script those, and that is why I watch reality TV.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Oh, it was hilarious.
Okay, what else should we talk about in the progress or note?
We had the premiere of Southern Charm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, it's one of my favorite shows on Bravo.
Me too.
I really love it. It branches out from the Real Housewives. There's lots of like mixed gender stuff going on. They talk like the people that I grew up with.
Yeah.
Talk,
they go to your Southern roots.
Yes, it has a lot of my Southern roots. And you can sort of see it in traditions. Like my partner and my stepchildren do not understand why my whole body physically revolts from them scraping their damn teeth on the forks.
No.
But you can watch Southern Charm and you can be in Miss Pat's house and you understand that from a young age we are all taught which forks and which spoons to use, how to not put your elbows on the table. Don't slurp a single thing, a drink, a coffee, a soup. You don't slurp a freaking thing. If you cannot do it without slurping, you do not eat it. And you do not rake food off of a utensil with your teeth. And my family does not get it. I have to go outside sometimes because they are all scraping their teeth on the forks. They're going to have no teeth by the time they're 60.
They're clearly not raised in the South, and it shows.
It shows. So yes, I love Southern Charm. Do you?
I love it so much. It's great. It's like Vanderpump, but it doesn't have to revolve around a restaurant.
Yeah.
So it's better. Like we're not going to age out of whatever season of life we're in.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do love, like, each person is kind of kooky and they've got their own things going on. I did not love Madison at the beginning, but she's really growing on me now. Especially since she's gotten married. I feel like she's settled into herself. Maybe it's just that she's not with Austin anymore, and we can,
perhaps that's a large part of it. You know, there is, and I hope you don't take offense to this, there is a part of me that sees some Madison in you.
Yeah.
Not just physically, but like the funny little quips.
Yeah.
And she's very quick on her toes.
Yes.
And I just love it. I do like
too.
her little talking heads are just the best.
Yeah, and she also says some sayings that I feel are very Southern and people don't know about, but she'll kind of come up with them. And if I'm watching it with people in my home who grew up in Southern California, they're all like, what does that mean? And I'm going, what do you mean? What does it mean?
Yeah.
It's like, isn't that built into your bones? Don't you just like feel it? Don't you know what that means? So yeah,
I love watching her.
I really like her. I love her new marriage. And I was so sad to hear that he had cancer.
Yeah, I did not know about that. That was really, really sad. And the way she was so vulnerable and honest about it, of like, I finally got it. I got what I want. I have the partner and the family. And now it's getting taken from me? Like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a bummer.
Last season, when we see her kid, Hudson, get beat up by a neighborhood bully, and he comes home crying, and Madison and her husband Brett, the way that they respond to him, the way that there's such a sweet relationship between a stepdad and a kid, I just like, that's what you want when you blend a family. That is what you want. I love that. She
seems like a really good mom.
Yeah, and that I will never take that away from her. That has been very clear from the beginning.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Shep.
Oh, he is Peter Pan. He is so problematic. He's like Leonardo DiCaprio. The girls just keep getting younger in comparison to his age.
And he is not that great.
No,
No,
he
he's
doesn't
got
even have a
chiclet
job.
teeth. He doesn't have a job. He like it's not like he's in super shape.
No. And then he goes on like he clearly is aware that he has a problem. And he's maybe trying to address it head on. But the things these men will do before just going to therapy.
Yes. Yes. I posted a meme about that a couple of weeks ago or a couple of days ago. And the links that these men will go through in the Bravoverse to not go to therapy is astounding. Astounding.
Yeah. Like, why will you go to Costa Rica and do ayahuasca before you will just go talk to a therapist?
Right. Right. Like,
nothing against Costa Rica, but like, wasn't the first step maybe like a therapist, and then we can, I don't know,
a little self-reflection before you were like totally sideways under the influence for self-reflection?
Yeah, him and Austin both give me the ick. Like, they just seem to have nothing going for them, but they think they can ride on the fact that they are over 6 feet tall and like mildly attractive, and that is just so unattractive.
Now, JT misses, but he also wins sometimes. Like, there are some things about him that I'm like, I can see why Vanita loves him. I can see where he's a loyal kid. He's, he's like committed. You can feel that he like wants really good for people. You can feel that he was like trying to support all of these women when he went after Austin. Now, he missed in how he executed it. But there was something like sweet about him trying.
Yeah, I cringe when I watch him. But he is trying, and he just has no awareness of how he is coming off to others or how he is coming off on TV. And it's like when he confessed his love for Taylor last season and just like really thought that was going to lead somewhere. It was like, how did you misread that so badly? Honey.
Yes. And then there's Whitney and Miss Pat. I love Miss Pat, but she also misses sometimes. And I think some of that is like with age and maybe some like baked in problematic history, right? That she's like, got to be sort of called out for. But Whitney has never looked worse.
Oh my gosh. He looks awful, and he is behaving awfully.
Awfully. Yes. Pointing out someone's weight.
That was so inappropriate, which I love Molly, by the way.
Me too. I really love her. Now, don't come for Paige in Craig's relationship, which she kind of starts off on the wrong foot with me by like saying something. Yes. But she's like quickly won me back over. But I could not believe that Whitney talked to her the way that he did.
Yeah, in front of his mother too, at that nice little event.
At a very Southern, where manners are very important, dinner. What is going on?
Yeah, and Pat seems to make a lot of excuses for him. That's kind of a problematic relationship.
I agree.
Because she wouldn't tolerate that behavior in anybody but her son.
Correct. So.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else that we need to include in this progress note?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Bravo is back. We're headed into the new year with some good stuff. Oh, what we didn't touch on was Beverly Hills.
Ooh, okay. So they go to Oceanside, just down the street. Kathy Hilton is her normal weirdo self. My God, the hats she wears, I don't have words. I don't have words.
Gosh.
I am enjoying Garcelle a little bit more this season.
I am too. I wonder if a producer told her, like, you need to bring it or get off the show, because she's being a little feistier.
Yeah, I agree. And she always thought this stuff, but she just never said it, right?
Correct.
Which always miffed me a little bit. So I'm enjoying her. Bose can do no wrong. Love her.
Agreed.
Top to bottom.
Yeah.
And I really like Bose and Dorit and their friendship.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
less
really sweet.
impressed with Kyle and how she's treating Dorit. She is like dismissing the hell out of that relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, why is Teddy Mellencamp still a storyline when she has not been on this show in years?
I don't know, but you know that she cheated on her husband.
Yes.
And with her horse trainer. And please look up a picture of him and be shocked with me. Okay. Because wowza.
I'm gonna do that right now.
Okay, I want live
Okay.
coverage of this.
All right. Teddy Mellencamp, horse trainer. Okay. Oh boy. Oh boy. Woof. Really? Her husband is hot.
Her husband is hot.
Simon Schroeder.
I was shocked. Shocked. Anyway, she has moved in with Kyle.
That makes all the sense in the
Yeah.
world.
So Mauricio has moved out. These two single gals have moved in together. They're living in this big mansion in
man.
Encino.
Get a camera in that house right now. I need Andy and a camera.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh. What a way to blow up a marriage. And they just had a kid, like less than 5 years ago.
Yeah. Yep. After a
That's-
lot of issues
Yeah.
trying to have a kid, and then they finally had
Uh-huh.
the third kid that they were hoping for.
And then she goes and cheats on the dad. That's very sad.
It is. Bless.
It is. Yeah, but I'm excited for Beverly Hills this
too.
season. I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm loving the new Erica.
Me too.
And yeah, we've got a lot of good stuff to look forward to in the new year.
Okay. I'm excited
right.
about it.
Me too.
We'll see you in the new year.
Okay.
That was this week's progress note, and now we're on to the main episode. Hello, and welcome to Reality Testing Podcast. I am Quincee Gideon, and this is
Megan Johnson.
And we are going to talk a little bit about the beloved new recasting, the new seasons of The Real Housewives of New York City. You cannot take me away from the screen. I'm loving every single minute of it. How about you?
All of it. I'm so here for it.
Okay, so let's just work through the characters because we've got a lot to talk about. So let's start with Jessel. How are you feeling about Jessel?
So last season, she really rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know if it was her whole, like, I'm not wearing the lingerie at the little sleepover party, or just the way that she interacted with Pavitt. It wasn't doing it for me. But this season, my thoughts and feelings about her have just completely 180. I'm loving her. I think
What
she's
changed?
so funny. I think she has a dry sense of humor that just wasn't translating. I think I didn't understand her. And things that were actually like silly, I was taking as serious. And I was like, like the Tribeca's up and coming comment. I was like, ooh. When you realize this is just like her, and she has that quality that we love in Housewives of being slightly out of touch with real people, I came to think she was hilarious, and I love her. And I also love, what a good mother she is.
Mm-hmm.
Her storylines about postpartum life and contemplating family building and having more children and what that's doing in her marriage. I think that's so honest and relatable, and I love her for sharing that. How do you feel about her?
I mean, obviously, I had almost an immediate connection with her because of her IVF journey. She talked about doing IVF for like 5 years. That was like what I did. I just, had like kind of moved forward in that process when that season came out. I got pregnant shortly after that. Like it was just sort of in line with kind of my own experience. So I really loved that. But I don't think that she was like as captivating to me in the first season. There was like I hated how she acted about the lingerie, like calling it a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
But now that I like this season, they're kind of like playing that up, and Jenna is like giving her a hard time about that with this like recent gift. Have you seen that episode?
Yes.
Where
Yes.
she like gifts her this Christmas tree costume to sort of make fun of how she, talked about that gift. But I actually think that was much more about postpartum body in a room full of women who are in fashion or in sort of like they're within the normal limits of what is expected of American women, which is tall, thin, well-dressed, got it together, right? Like that's what we want. That's what we're told that we should want. And I think she was coming onto the show, not necessarily being that. I mean, she was lovely, but she was not physically sort of reflecting, I think, what she wanted to reflect. And she puts on this like lingerie and it makes her feel frumpy and it like makes her like feel like it's highlighting all the wrong things. And I think we get these like kind of gross moments where she's like not very grateful or, you know, whatever. I do think this year she's like come out of it this season. So she's not so, I don't know, she's not missing people as much.
Right. I totally agree. She's landing with the viewers very differently this season, and I love her for it.
Yeah, I do think that it was very interesting that they moved to New York right before filming and that she might not actually be a New Yorker. Like we knew that she had sort of moved around and lived in other places, but
Yeah.
when in the reunion when they kind of like dropped this bomb that maybe she moved to New York specifically to be on the Housewives, it starts to feel like, oh, this is like a job, which it is, and we know that. But
Yeah.
it like brought it kind of front and center that, oh, maybe this is a job or like an opportunity and not like, oh, I live this really lovely life, come and film it. Right. Which is the
Yeah.
delusion that we all want to live in.
Yeah. As evidenced by her total discomfort being on the subway this season. That was just shocking for me to see this New Yorker who won't get on the subway.
Yes. I mean, I have ridden the subway more than she has, which is saying
Yeah.
something considering I live in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
What about
Okay.
Sai?
Sai. Yeah. You know, I didn't connect with her last season, but I'm still not connecting with her. Some of this current argument that's playing out, I'm starting to take her side, but there's just something so inauthentic about Sai to me. And I don't know if it's because she's an influencer and I just feel like she's chronically trying to sell me something or what. But I don't connect with her and I can't put my finger on why. What do you think?
I like Sai, and I don't know
Okay.
why. I think I like her because she she has been able to like cut through some of the bullshit, I think.
Yeah.
I like that. Like I like that she's
Yeah.
been able to, I don't know, like she'll say, you know, when Jenna didn't want to like not fly first class, she was just sort of like, that is so gross. Right. And I like that part of her that she would just kind of come out and say those
Yeah.
things. Um, I think she's another one of those trauma survivors with an alcoholic mom that I think just sometimes takes it one step too far and becomes a little bit hard to tolerate. But it all comes from this like deep trauma narrative. So even if she's rubbing me the wrong way, I find myself like trying to root for her, like in this
Mhm.
like I
Okay.
see
Yeah.
you sort of way. Um,
Yeah.
but I also appreciate that she, I think, is trying to take some of the feedback that she got last year. She
Yeah.
like
It
started
seems
going to
like it.
therapy. She, we see they go out to the Hamptons again, which I don't know why we don't learn, but they go out to the Hamptons again. And you see her like, she doesn't complain about the food. Now there was a lot more of it, but she doesn't complain about it. She's like putting together her own coat racks. She drove herself. I just feel like she was like, okay, I was a little bit snotty and that doesn't
Yeah.
land well with me or others. And so she's like turned it around.
Yeah. Fair points. Okay. I will continue to give Sai a chance, but I remain skeptical. I think what it is when you're saying it, she does come in and tell it like it is, but I want her to do it like a New Yorker. I want it to have that Bethany grittiness to it, and it
Mm,
doesn't. So I go,
mm.
like, give me New York.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why we're watching after all.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. You ready for
Give it
Jenna
to me.
fucking Lyons?
Oh my gosh, this woman. I just adore her. I love her, and I also need her to open up more.
Yeah.
I don't love the idea of you being a housewife or a reality TV personality and just like sectioning off whole parts of your life. And
Yeah.
I thought it was
Like,
a really weird that. Go ahead.
well, one of the things that she's sectioning off is her relationships. Like she's like never really
Yes.
willing to talk about it, but her sexuality is a huge part of her platform, right? And
Yes.
her
This is what makes you
advocacy.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was strange to me that in this season we got to meet her. Is it her girlfriend, fiance, wife? See, I don't even know. Her partner's
A partner. Yeah.
mother. Yeah,
Hmm.
but we didn't get to meet the partner. Like, that's weird to me. It was very weird to me. But I think she has or had the potential to be a top tier housewife, and she's just not given us any part of her.
Yeah, I think okay, let me walk you through how I've analyzed her.
Okay.
I she has said that her mother was autistic and had a very hard time connecting with her. That does not mean that all people with autism have a hard time connecting. It just means that that particular experience was how that played out, right? Like that is how, and that's how Jenna understands it, is because of this diagnosis, that's perhaps why I had a hard time. Although that's not always true for everyone, so let's keep that in mind. But she does strike me as the sort of woman that is very clear about her fashion. She's very clear about her money. She is very clear about how she's going to design her apartment. But relationally, she is still that little girl who doesn't know if she's about to get negative feedback when being honest, if being upfront or being forthcoming about her inner experience. And you put her on national television, and I think she's like clamming up a little bit. And I think because this is like developmental trauma, as she describes it, I think it's just going to take
Mm-hmm.
her a little while. But I do think that I feel like we're starting to see some of the cracks. Like she got called out in the last episode that just aired, and she was like, "No, I didn't. No, I didn't." And we were all like, "Yes, you did, boo.
Clearly
Yes,
did.
you did." And so you got to like own up to it. So we're about to see, I think, some places where she's got her back up against the wall, and she's going to have to be human.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. Cannot wait. Okay, Bryn, what's your take on Bryn?
Okay, I did not expect that Bryn was going to be the whole storyline for the first 3 episodes of this
Yeah, me
season,
neither.
because something has gone on off camera. Like
Always
the
with a show.
the yes, but something big has gone on with Bryn. Like her like ride or dies, or not riding and dying for her, her like closer relationships, they're having questions about her. She's sort of in her very delusional, chipper sort of space, and then he like kind of hears some of this feedback, and she's like, whoa, what's going on? I mean, I just feel like so much has gone on, and because it's reality TV and because some people are going to be forthcoming and some people aren't, we're going to have to piece together what happened off screen over the whole season, and probably never get the
Yeah,
full answer, but until the reunion when Andy's going to ask them
yeah,
what happened.
yeah, exactly. The last 2 episodes, I found myself rewinding and rewatching bits because I was like, did I miss something? Oh, did they? Where are we? And it's
Yes.
because all of this is happening off camera,
Yes.
and I'm like, I'm not getting the full story, and it's bothering me. I'm not liking it.
Yes. And it's sort of like when they're in their confessionals, it's kind of like when your attorney has told you not to say something and you're like, it was difficult, instead of like saying how it actually was and what the experience was and who showed up and what time you were there. Like we've lost some of the
Yeah,
specifics of what's going on because they're not wanting to share. And it's hard to keep up with and know, you
I
know.
agree. I agree. But for
What
Bryn,
about it? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Bryn was really the standout for me last season. I thought she
Mhm.
was fun. I thought she was vibrant. I thought she brought this energy that was so refreshing. But this season, I'm starting to think she might be better for something like Summer House. She I
Mm.
don't know if she is, but she presents a little younger than the other women, and she has
Mhm.
that like just flirty, childlike presence that I think is actually a defense. And speaking of her
Yes.
trauma history, I'm excited to get into that.
Yeah, it feels like it does feel defensive. It feels like it is a distraction from
Yeah.
accountability. If
Yes.
um she can act like bubbly and like this is all fun and games, and why would anyone be mad at me? And then she apologizes really fast for things without actually hearing what other people are upset about. Like that happened with Sai. She's just like, I'm just so
Mhm.
sorry. And Sai's like, you don't even know what you did. Why are you
Yeah.
apologizing? Right.
Yeah.
But it feels like if she does that and it's worked for her before, then she doesn't actually have to talk about like what she did, what she said, what
Mhm.
happened, and how she stirs the pot, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Okay, Erin, what
Erin,
do you think?
I like Erin. There's just something like very uh New York about her. I like her.
Mhm. Yeah.
I am worried about her because she renewed her vows on camera.
Yes.
And this is like the
The
kiss
kiss
of
of death.
death in Bravo. Ah, it's like literally
Yeah.
everyone gets divorced after this. So I am worried. And then, of course, we start this season with her and her
Yeah.
husband being at odds with each other. And I'm like, oh no, it's already
Mhm.
happening.
It's all happening. Yeah, she gives me that classic RHONY energy. I think she's old money. She comes from that generational wealth that we just love to watch. Um, I like her. I like her a lot, but I feel like I'm not supposed to like her. Like there's something lurking.
Mm.
Maybe it is this discord with her husband that's about to play out.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like my perception about her is going to change, and I don't know why. But I do love her. I think she's well cast.
Yeah, I do too. And her mom is really sick this season or about to go through chemo or something like
Yeah.
that. And so I think that there's like some heartstrings that are going on there. I think too her history, she's Israeli and there's like a lot
Yeah.
going on. I think right while they were filming or like right before they stopped filming, maybe right before some of the recent events kind of played out. So I'm kind of wondering how that will if there'll even be anything on the show about that.
Oh yeah, I'll be interested to see that too. That hadn't
Yeah.
occurred to me with the timeline.
Let's talk about Uba. How do you feel?
Okay, let's. Jury's still out for me with her. I'm very okay if she never says the word pigeon ever again. It's a little overused. Um, but
Yeah.
same thing with Jenna. If you're gonna be in a serious relationship and you're gonna be on reality television, like please share that with us. Um, so it just raises red flags for me of like, why would you not? Either you're trying to hide something or you're a private person and then you just
Right.
shouldn't. This isn't your life work.
Yeah, it feels like that this is like truly a casting, like where you're going to show like a very small sliver of your life. And it just feels less reality based when people aren't willing to kind of talk about it all, mention it all, as long as we're talking about
Mention it
Bethany.
all, please. Yeah. Oh,
I I like Uba. I want to like her. But I had zero connection with her in the first season. I almost kind of forgot that she was part of the cast. And so when she came back
yeah.
this year, I was like, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which is
You.
not to say, yeah, which is, not to say that that's everyone's experience, but I definitely had like uh, okay, great. I'm glad you're here. So I wonder if though people did have that experience and that's why she came in guns blazing this season. Like she kind of got
Mm.
that like
Okay.
quote boring feedback or you're like hiding part of your life feedback. And so she came in and now it's about like pigeons and everyone should be mad at Bryn and we're not quite sure like why
Yeah.
she's mad at Bryn. Like there's a
Right.
lot, yeah, going on there.
A lot there. Absolutely. She strikes me more as a friend of.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. And what about Raquel?
Oh my gosh. Her wife is a forensic neuropsychologist. Like
I know.
when I
I
learned that, I was like,
immediately
that's me.
yeah.
That's me. I want to just sit down with her and chat about her career. So I'm intrigued. She's not like my favorite of all time so far. I don't dislike her for any reason, but I'm very obsessed with the fact that her wife is a forensic neuropsychologist. What do you think of Raquel?
What do you think about that engagement ring or that wedding ring?
It's not my style. I don't like it.
No, you can't do anything. in life with a ring like that.
No, no, no.
I like her. I think that there's like a story that should be told there about
Mhm.
closeted women that are, their existence is denied or their realness is denied in some way, their authenticity, and then this like late to life kind of coming to I don't know what they coming to themselves, like a late to life coming to themselves, I think is what we're seeing. I don't think that we've seen enough of her to like have an opinion yet. She's like just kind of been introduced in the last, little bit. So we'll
Right.
see.
Overall, zooming out, how are we feeling about the current RHONY season?
I don't love that all of this stuff has happened off camera and we're trying to figure out like what's going on and we're trying to piece everything together. In my opinion, the audience is having to work way too hard to try to
Mhm.
figure out what's going on here. And no, people aren't being honest. So that's annoying me a little bit.
Yeah, and working hard is not what I want to do when I'm
Yeah.
watching Housewives.
No, no.
So
I don't
I'm
want
not.
it to be investigative. I don't want to have to try to figure this out. I don't want to have to like put pieces together. It just like this is what we're watching it for, is to put our brains on ice, and it's not giving that this season specifically. But in general, the reboot I'm living for. I think it was
Oh,
needed. I think
yes.
we like needed this new energy. We needed these new perspectives. We needed a younger cast, to be honest, to
Yes.
follow for the next however many years. Like it was the thing to do.
I agree. And I was hesitant at first because I'm just a person who in general does not like change. And so when it was announced that, we weren't even getting a reunion to close out the old RHONY and then we're getting a whole new cast, I was like, but Sonia, I need my Sonia, my Dorinda, my, those classic folks.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came in highly skeptical, but I have been blown away. I've connected with the storylines, I've connected with the women, and they already feel like just that refreshing cup of tea that I sit
Yeah.
down to enjoy after a long day. They already
Yes.
feel like that to me. So
I
I'm excited.
agree. I'm living for it this season. I'm
Yeah.
loving that.
Yeah. I'm gonna need them to like you're saying though, be honest and to
Yeah.
talk about things on camera. Because
Yeah.
that's why we're watching this. Like we talked about, one of the cool things about reality TV is we all watch the same thing and have totally different interpretations, but we're not all watching the same thing because we're not watching anything.
Right. Right. So let's do a little reality testing. Who
Okay.
needs a little dose of reality this week, Megan?
I think it's Bryn. I hate to say that because I loved her so much, but she's having that thing, which I don't know if there's a name for this, but where a housewife has like a really great first season and is like a
Mm,
fan favorite, and it kind of gets to their head and they get really obnoxious the next season. This sort of happened with
yeah.
Heather Gay as well.
Yeah.
It's happening with her, and I don't like it. And I think she needs to take a look at herself.
I know. Yeah, there's this like out of touch quality to it that I think is really like people are reacting to.
Yeah,
They don't like it.
yeah.
So, okay, so I think that Uba needs some reality testing. There is something in this last episode where she was like going off and screaming pigeon and stirring up
Yeah,
things that weren't even real. Like we kind of watched
yeah.
it all play out and she's like, she's still upset or well, like whatever the drama was. I think it left the audience going, you're
Huh?
this is like this was a non thing and you're starting something and you're like trying to get someone really upset and it's just like not helpful. Anyway, it just like it didn't inspire that like same like ooh juicy drama that we all come to reality TV to watch. It was sort of like this feels like it's not landing. This is like what are you
Totally,
doing here,
totally. I agree. Okay, the intake. What are your first impressions of RHONY now that we're a couple of episodes into this current season, which I keep wanting to call season two because it's season two of these ladies, but
Yes.
it's like season 15 or something.
Yeah.
It's way beyond.
Yeah, I know. But we're going with season 2 of the new ladies because
Yeah,
that's
there
easier.
you go.
Um, I I am loving it. I want to see more from Jenna Lyons, like
Uh-huh.
definitely. I loved her vagina dress, which you did not love.
I was not
I
into it.
Oh my God, I loved every bit of it. I was like, vagina dress all day long. Loved it so much. I really, really am wanting more from Jenna. And
Mhm.
then I want to see whatever's going to happen with Sai. Like, however that's going to play out, if she's like going to reclaim some part of our affection. I think she could easily do it. She just like
Yeah.
has to sort of get in a rhythm.
Yeah.
What about
I
you?
I think we've seen some foreshadowing that we all might come to not like Bryn by the end of the season. And so my interest is peaked there. And I'm starting to think that what we're seeing is some unhealed trauma rather than this like super relatable, fun, bubbly person. And so I'm sad about that. But I'm wanting to know more. And on a smaller scale, Rebecca Minkoff and the Scientology thing, I just have
Yeah.
so many questions, and I hated that her response was like, "Well, you can look it up." It's like, no, I want it from you. That's why you're here. So
Yeah.
she's not doing it for me so far.
So I feel like that leads well into the dying to discuss. Is that your
Uh-huh.
dying to discuss?
Yeah, my dying to discuss is Rebecca Minkoff's Scientology. I mean, just her in general, but the
Yeah.
Scientology piece of it.
Yeah. I think that I'm really interested in her because I feel like this is going to sound shady, but it's not. But like, I feel like she's been in every TJ Maxx, right?
Yeah,
And like, so I
right.
have this like name recognition,
Yeah,
right? So like they say Rebecca Minkoff, and I was immediately like, oh yeah, okay, right? Like I
yeah,
can get down with that. Um, but yeah, Scientology, as you know, I work with religious trauma and cults,
yeah,
and we can just sort of solidly put Scientology in a cult
yes.
category. Wowza. So I think it's interesting that they cast someone that is in
Agreed.
Scientology because I think legally that's messy, but Bravo
Agreed.
took it on. So okay, we'll let them
Yeah.
do whatever they need to do there. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. We already see her protecting the cult. We
Yep.
already see her being like, look it up, or
Mhm.
nothing crazy is going on. And I'm going, oh my God, we've got books and survivor stories and whole documentaries. Like, you're not convincing anyone.
No.
Now, my dying to discuss is connected to that, but I'm really interested in how the ladies are going to respond to it, how the rest of the cast is, because we already see them sort of saying like it's her religion, so we'll just see, which I think is probably smart at the beginning to kind of take a
Sure.
like non-committal stance. But especially if you don't know anything about it, like I have the privilege of knowing a lot, right, about it, so I
Yes.
get to have these like strong opinions, and maybe they haven't come up with those yet, but
Yeah.
I am interested to see what happens when more information is made available to them about the beliefs or about, whatever. And see how they respond to that, because it's one of those things where you're not going to be able, like Jenna Lyons, she's like, my religion is something and puppies,
Yeah.
hugs, cuddles and puppies, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is so non-committal. You just wait. I
Yeah.
think it's going to demand a response from them.
Yeah. Agreed. So I think I'm learning that I need housewives to take hard stances.
Yeah.
You can be wrong, but own it.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't actually know, outside of Salt Lake City, which is like in a Mormon dominated space.
Right.
I don't know if we've talked a lot about people's religion, right, on the
I
show.
mean, we
I
had
guess,
Tamara getting baptized in
yeah,
Jesus drugs.
right.
So some on the Orange County, but you're right. It's not really a topic that gets dived into a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah. So there's an invitation here for them to dive into it, but we'll see if they will.
Yeah. I'm excited,
I
as
know.
always.
Okay, Megan, tell everyone where they can find you if they want to see what else you talk about out there in the world.
Yes. Dr. Megan Johnson on Instagram and TikTok.
And I am Dr. Quincee on Instagram and TikTok. And we love hanging out with you there.
Yeah.
So please come and say hi. Otherwise, we will see you next week on the pod.
Yeah. See you there.
If you are a reality TV junkie like us and you have an idea of something you'd like for us to cover on this pod, you can email us at realitytestingpod@gmail.com. If you like today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform so that others can find us. We had so much fun with you today. We'll see you next time. Okay, love you. Bye.